welcome to the show. I'm Danella, and here's what's happening now. Police are investigating a terrorist attack in London, resulting in 22 people being treated at the hospital. And here on our show today, I'm going to bring back tales from the backseat of a car. It's really amazing what you can learn in the backseat of a car. And our world is also on deck. And there, we'll be talking about those bossy coworkers. Come on, we all have one. Somebody who thinks they're your boss, but they're not. That person is your coworker. We're going to talk about how to handle them. And also, I'm going to get a little more personal on the show. I wrote a Facebook post about Trump taking away another Obama-era policy. I'll talk about why that was appalling to me, and I'll get very personal about my own experience with equal pay working in the entertainment industry. But first, a little more information on the attack in London. They're saying this is a terrorist attack. An IED bomb went off on a commuter train as Londoners were commuting to work. Police in the area are looking for any photos, any videos that any witnesses may have. I'm going to give the number if you happen to be watching overseas. The number that they're actually asking you to call is 0800-789-321. That's the number. And now it's time for Political Pop, starring North Korea and their missiles. Yes, back again in Political Pop. Hey, if you're joining us from SoulCityRadio.com, thank you so much for checking out Political Pop. We actually talked about this earlier in the week. We talked about the UN sanctions. The U.S. just, they didn't get the strongest sanctions that they wanted, but they got some pretty good ones. I went into details about this on SoulCityRadio.com. In case you missed it, these were all economical sanctions for North Korea, affecting oil imports, textile exports, and overseas workers. Yeah, you can't make money overseas. That's what these sanctions are requiring. And here's what North Korea responded with. They said, quote, they're going to follow this road at a faster pace without the slightest diversion until this fight to the finish is over. So, hey, they said that, and then next thing you know, what did they do? Test another missile. Now, the range on this missile was the furthest missile they've ever tested. And what they're starting to realize by analyzing the distance of this missile is that it had enough range to reach the U.S. territory of Guam. So how are people reacting? All right, so obviously the U.S., we're angry. We're looking towards China and Russia to do something. Russia's looking back at us like, yo, chill on your rhetoric of all this anger. Chill on that. You're making it worse. Yeah, and China also puts the ball in our court for responding. So it is completely heating up. I'm going to keep following this for you. It's just, is it just me, or do you feel like they're kids in a playground and someone like kicked sand on someone, just sand, no punches were blown, and then someone else kicked sand back and someone else kicked sand back? Yeah, that's what it feels like, but it's sad that these are grown adults with weapons. Grown adults with weapons. Yeah, sad, but that's your Political Pop. Now, let's head over to Chicago where Obama wants you. Did you guys hear about this? Former President Barack Obama announced this new initiative. He's calling it the inaugural Obama Foundation Summit, happening at the end of October. It's October 31st through November 1st, 2 days. And he says it has one mission, and that mission is simple. It's a mission to inspire change. He says, quote, we want to inspire and empower people to change the world. Yeah, he said they're going to showcase art, technology, also music from various countries in the world. Also, he says this, the Leadership Summit will be a place to gather and learn from one another and then go back to your communities to lead others in the hard work of change. So how can you be involved? Yeah, they're going to start accepting applications. These are the type of people that they're looking for. Does this sound like you? Are you a young leader? Are you someone that's passionate about social change and actively engaged in your community? Well, if you are, they want you. They want you to be able to bring a diverse perspective. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, Obama needs you. And now we'll head over to In Our World. And here we're talking about those bossy coworkers, right? These are the people that thinks that they're your boss.
Dear coworker, who thinks you're my boss? Why? Why are you constantly emailing me? Why are you always up in my business?
I just heard you got a house. I just heard you got your period.
Why are you always talking about we? You don't own shit up in here, not even the mug you drinking out of. Why are you always giving unsolicited advice?
So if I were you...
I mean, seriously, enough with the emails. Why are you always trying to occupy my free time? No, I don't want to grab a bite after work. No, I don't want to bring a dish to the office party. No, I don't want to go to lunch with you. Wait, you buying? Oh, okay, I'll go to lunch with you if you buy me a drink. Oh, yeah. Corporate celebration. Why do I only want to hang out with you if you're treating? Why do you always smell like coffee, sadness, and tears? Sincerely, Danella.
I'm saying, have you ever felt that way? Yeah, I felt that way like quite a few times. Yeah, so let me tell you what careertrend.com is saying on how you can deal with the bossy coworker. That person thinking that they're your boss. This is what Career Trend says you should do. The first thing you should do is don't engage. Ooh, how hard is that? Yeah, because sometimes, right, you get the feeling they annoy you so much and you're like, don't take me back to the old me. Is that just me? It might be just me. I feel that way a lot. This is what they say that you should do. Instead, you should calmly tell your coworker you're already in the middle of a project and go back to your work, right? So this is, let's say you're already working and that person comes over and is like, oh, can you handle this for me real quick? Yeah, what you should do is say, oh yeah, I'm working on something right now. That's what you should do. Let that person know that you're already in the middle of the project and go back to your work. Now, let's say that coworker keeps insisting. Ooh, repeat your statement and continue with what you're doing. They're insisting, yes, I'm sorry, but I'm in the middle of something. Keep doing it. Now, let's say the coworker nitpicks about the way you do something, right? Well, they say that you shouldn't explain yourself. Don't go explaining yourself. Instead, what you should do is smile and tell your coworker, this method has worked well for me for 10 years. Yeah, pull out the guns of your experience. So, here's the next thing you should do. Set boundaries. Right. So they say the first time you let a coworker boss you around, you are already setting yourself up for trouble. So they say you need to lay down the law initially. Right. And even if it feels rude, you need to assert yourself. So here's some of the things that they say you can say. They get pretty straightforward here. They say you should respond. Right. I've got everything under control, but thanks. That sounds good, right? I got everything under control, but thanks. Another thing you can say is this. If that person keeps inserting themselves into your discussion, and imagine this, right? You're working and all of a sudden this coworker is getting in the middle of you and your other clients or you and your other coworkers, like in the heat of it. This is how they say you should respond. Tell your coworker, please don't interrupt my private conversations. If I ever need your input, I'll ask for it. Ooh, maybe you could try to say it nicer than me. Let me try one nicer way. Please don't interrupt my private. No, there's no way you can say it nicely. I'm realizing you got to say it firm. Please don't interrupt my private conversations. Definitely, if I need your help, I'll ask for it. And I would add, but thank you very much, so it'll sound more polite. That's what I would add. The next step that they suggest doing is remind her who's boss. Yeah, so let's say that coworker is trying to stick you with a project and you already have a project. So they say that what you should do is say this. Remind your coworker that you report to your boss and not to her. And they say when you do that, it puts your coworker in their place. Meaning this is that you have to report to your boss. So if that coworker has a problem with you, that they need to go to the same boss. and let that boss tell you what to do. Yeah. And they say the main thing is that it puts the onus, the burden on your coworker and takes it off of you. You know, hey, look, man, my boss is Rickety Rick. So yeah, do you want to take it to Rickety Rick because he has me working on another project. It's a fun boss name. What company is that? I don't know where that's located. So final step, they say, is you should enlist others. There is strength in numbers. And 9 times out of 10, man, it's not just you. It's not just you that this bossy coworker is bossing around. It's you and others. So they feel that there's strength in numbers. So what they say you should do is talk to your colleagues about the situation and encourage them also to stand up for themselves. Because again, this isn't the boss. You don't own nothing up in here. You don't own anything. You're not the boss. And if that doesn't work, in extreme cases, you should direct your complaint to your own boss. That's what they suggest. But they're cautious to say, don't go to your boss whining, complaining. Definitely don't go to your boss in anger. Do not do that. No boss wants to hear you complaining on the job. Instead, you could just say, I'm feeling a little confused about my role and who I should be taking supervision from, and explain the situation, right? Or what you can do is explain the negative impact that your colleague's behavior is having on your work and your overall employee morale. So that's how they say you should handle your bossy coworker. And that wraps up in our world. And now we're going to move over to me getting a little personal with you guys and talking about my own experience with equal pay in the entertainment industry. The reason I'm talking about this is because recently I just posted about this just a couple days ago, and it's Trump ending the Obama era policy. This policy required that if you had a company, a business, and it had at least 100 employees, you would have to report though your employees' earnings, right, to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. And this is on top of what they would normally get besides gender, race, ethnicity, right? And so now they ended that policy, and Ivanka Trump ended up saying that this policy, basically doesn't do the job that it's intended to do. And obviously when she said that, I thought to myself, well, have you looked in the mirror, Trump administration? That's kind of what I was thinking. But anyway, it got me to start thinking about my own experience with equal pay. And so, starting out, I started out my first job in entertainment. Really, my first job after graduating from college was working in radio. And from there, I went from radio to television, and then back to radio and television at the same time. And I've kind of just been intermingling into the two fields ever since. And so I wanted to talk to you about when I first entered the entertainment industry by working in radio. And I remember at the time, I never really thought that much about equal pay per se. And that's because, my female mentor and other females in the industry, if they ever give you, you're new, you're coming up in the industry back then, what I was told was, hey, it's an all boys club, period. The rules are not the same for women. They're not the same for women. The first thing I was told was, don't tell anybody your age. Again, I had just entered. Literally, that was like, I'm out of college. This is my first job. And so at that time, I was told not to say how old I was because people might think, oh, I dated someone, hooked up with someone for my job, or I'm too young to do the job. And then that same mentor told me that then there's going to come a point where you get older, and then people aren't going to want to hire you because of your age. And so she was saying for men, they don't have that. They don't. If they're young, they're youthful. If they're old, they're wise. And so she was like, never really tell your age. Another thing that I learned at that time was that in addition to it being an all boys club, I would have to come in the earliest, leave, be the last person to leave, work the hardest, and allow my work to speak for me. And the men didn't really have to work in that same way. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't kill me. I'm just saying, not in the same way. And let me, before I continue further into my story, say this. I've worked with many male co-hosts, and a lot of them are friends, and it's been a great experience. But the truth is, the majority of the jobs I have worked, I haven't been paid equally to the men, the majority of them. Some of them I have, and I'm grateful for that, but the majority haven't been. And when I first entered, I thought it was because I didn't have experience. Plus, remember, all the mentors are kind of saying, you got to pay your dues. And I remember my first mentor told me, Danella, you want to learn radio? You need to eat, sleep, and drink it. And she was right. I did. I ate, slept, and drank radio. I literally worked, I'm not joking, every day, every night, and every weekend, and every holiday. Because if you're really trying to get on, you got to get on when people take vacation. So yeah, I did that for years. That's what I did. And until I was able to get a full-time job. But even still, once I was able to get the full-time job, I remember one of the salespeople walking up to me, and she said to me, hey, Danella, listen, I want you to know I have several clients that have requested you for promotions. And every time I request you, they send blank person, the same guy, and they're telling me that you're busy, but I don't really see you doing promotions. And I remember telling her, I said, oh my God, thank you for telling me, because I have literally gone to the promotions department and asked for more promotions. Remember, I had previously come from a background of working a morning job in radio in the office, an on-air shift at night, a weekend job, and on-air shifts every holiday. Holidays where I'm on air this time, Christmas dinner has to be this other time. Thanksgiving, yeah, we're gonna have to do that early because I'm on at 6 o'clock tonight. And so when she told me that, the thing that made it the most frustrating, it was annoying that I'm losing out on promotion money. If you know anything about radio or entertainment, you know that that's good bread and butter, is appearances, promotions, commercials, that type of thing. And so that was frustrating. But what was most frustrating is that they were giving my requested promotional appearances to a man who wasn't even on air. He didn't even have an air shift. Yeah, so it was hard to really justify why that was happening. And to be fair, it wasn't that I wasn't good at promotions. If I wasn't, I wouldn't have been requested by people willing to pay money to have me come to their store or business to talk about their store or business. I want to give you another example. Another example that I had at another radio station was when a program director actually said to me, he said, listen, I know I promised you that I would give you this club, but listen, my man blank, this is a different station, different man, he's back in town now. He's got a family to take care of. So I'm going to have to give it to him. It wasn't, he's back, he's better, he's back, and he has an air shift. No, he was part-time. It was none of that. It was, he has a family to take care of, so I'm going to give it to him. So let me just say, yeah, I'm going to give another example. I worked with another co-host. This one was a really great friend of mine. And even though I was full-time on air, I was part-time. A lot of women that are in radio, you know what I'm talking about, how you're full-time working, but you're considered a part-time employee. So yeah, you're really relying on promotions and stuff to get your money because you're not on salary, you're on hourly. And so this particular show came in the earliest, stayed the latest. That's fine. I loved what I was doing. I loved the show. We were a great team. Still cool with that coworker to this day. But literally was responsible for every single thought that was given on air. Yes, if we did games, if we did skits, if we did spoofs, if we did songs, I literally wrote out all the content every single day for that show. Every single day. So yeah, I was grateful to that coworker because every time we were out and I was ever around him, he would say, yo, oh yeah, you like that? That was D. That was all D. He would always say, D, I'm giving you the credit. And I've really had to rely a lot on my male coworkers who would also say, oh, if I'm hosting something, let me get D to come and host it with me. So thank you, all my male coworkers, the ones that have looked out for me that way. But the truth was, economically, my pay didn't reflect it. And I really, really just thought that it was because of the entertainment industry. So I wanted to talk about it because, one, it's just my truth, you know? It's just my truth. But also I want to talk to the men of color, because these type of rules, equal opportunity, affects you too. It's not just for women. Excuse me, it's also for men of color. And by the administration removing a policy like this, not requiring businesses that have at least 100 people to report their pay, it's like we're taking another step back as a people. So I want to encourage the men out there that when you think about equal pay, please don't think about it as just in terms of us women, and think about it as in terms of us as human beings. We should be equal. We should be equal for the work that we do. We should be equal for what we bring to the table. We should be compensated for that. So yes, I definitely want to talk about that. So now, before we wrap up the show, we're gonna hear tales from the back seat. So I love this segment. Basically, it's just about what I learned riding around in the back seat of a car. And this week, Carl, last name Carl Costin. Shout out to you, Carl, man. Great driver. He dropped me off. I had to get my car serviced, so he took me to go pick it up. And let me tell you what Carl said that I wanted to share with you. He said that he has a quote that he lives by, and his quote is this. He said he made it up, and I thought it was really cool. He said, "When you find out what life means to you, no one else can define it." That's cool. No one else can define your life. Now, he was saying to me, he said, listen, I can look at you and tell by, the way you look, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you talk, that you love yourself. And so I'm going to talk about my own personal experience and how Carl's quote really is the truth. Because for him to say he can look at me and tell that I love myself is amazing. That's from years and years of actual working, because for years, I grew up not loving myself because of the things that have happened in my life. And so it's still, even the age that I am now as a grown woman, a wife and a mother, I still sometimes get surprised and I also feel proud when people say, wow, you could tell that you love yourself, or wow, you're a happy, confident person, because for many years I wasn't. And so back to what Carl said. Carl said, when you find out what life means to you, no one else can define it for you. And so for me, through years of hard work, years of not just like hard spiritual work, where it wasn't just a meditation, it was really going in and allowing myself to express and heal pain, allowing myself to forgive myself, allowing myself to forgive the others that have hurt me. It was years and years of working through that to even get to a point where someone can say, wow, I could tell that you love yourself. But that first step is it really was for me defining what my life is. It was really me defining who I was. And I'm going to take it back to us talking about radio and television. The truth is, in those jobs, even because I didn't have equal pay, I didn't come to work holding a grudge. I didn't come to work angry. I didn't come. Now, if you were a jerk, I came to work angry. But it wasn't because I knew maybe I was getting paid less or not equal to the other men. It wasn't that. No, it wasn't any of that. Because the truth is, I knew who I was. I know what my talent is. I didn't need a program director or a news director or a VP to tell me, Danella, you are worth this much money. I know how much I'm worth, and I'm grateful that I have been fortunate enough as I progress in my career to start demanding more of what I'm worth. But again, I don't look at them or look at numbers to really define who I am, because I know who I am. One other thing that he said that I thought was really, really, really inspirational, because sometimes we can just get caught in this, I want to say, a hamster wheel of life, where you're just going and going and going, and sometimes you don't stop and look at your life from the outside. But he said to me, look out the window, right? He was like, everything that we look at, everything that's surrounding us is someone else's prayers. He was like, that woman prayed for that house and that car, right? Everything. And when you think about yourself, if you look around, like right now, if you're watching on the computer or if you're listening, look at the car that you're driving as you're listening. Look at the computer that you're looking at. in some way, every single thing, even in your surrounding, is something that you asked for. And so he said, as he's driving the car, he said, and this leads me to what he said, this leads me to what I just learned. I learned you had to be so specific, because for him, he wanted a job, a career where he didn't have to be in the machine and always answer to somebody. He wants, his to be able to do whatever his passions are freely. But he said what he didn't do was put enough prayer into the financial part of it. So that's what he has to do now. And I wanted to share that with you guys, is that realize that when you ever feel discouraged, or if you feel alone, or you feel that I don't know, if you might think nothing is possible, look around you. Take a minute and look around you and realize every single thing that you're looking at is what someone prayed for, dreamt for, hoped for. And so I wanted to share this with you to encourage you to continue to pray, hope, dream. Be very specific in what you're asking for. Be very specific. And create your own life. And once you create that, don't let anybody else define it for you. You know who you are. And with that, we'll wrap up the show. Now, we have to get out, but I want you to check out the page. I have a couple new things happening. I think below me. I think it's below me. A couple new playlists. First, political pop. So for those of you that are watching from soulcityradio.com, thank you for joining me here. Thank you so much. In case you ever missed the political pop on soulcityradio.com, I've added it here under the political pop playlist. It's audio only. Sometimes you just need to hear a friendly voice telling you what's going on in politics. And I'm really making it pop. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, weekly political pop. And also, you've noticed Dear Why, that's my other playlist. It's actually allowing me to not only flex my comedic muscle, but also, more importantly, ask the tough questions. And these are things that I really be thinking about. And this show doesn't always give me the format to tell you what I'm really thinking about when I'm really thinking about it. So I'm putting it out there. So hope you enjoy it and hope you get a laugh out of it. So yeah, that's about it. And with that, have a blessed weekend, and I'll see you next week.